Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name is Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 171.
71.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems on a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise. Boom.
Etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you, don't ask stupid questions, and don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yay. Episode 171 is upon us. Very light on news, a couple of bits of merch, and then it's classic Who time. 3 Doctors. Count them. 3 of them.
Una, dos, tres.
More like 2.5 or 2 1/4 story.
2 in a TV screen.
Yes. Trapped in an eddy. Don't know what an eddy is, but...
I don't know, but I want one.
I want one, yeah. It looks cosy.
Did.
How has Geeks been the last week? You been up to anything cool, buddy?
I've been good. Yeah, I've been good. I've just sort of kind of been getting back into the swing of the new year, actually, and that. I'm waiting for something to arrive that was dispatched before Christmas, and I'm getting worried now. It's the Eagle Moss War Machine Special Edition. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen it. It looks pretty good.
It does look good, and I remember getting an email while I was out in China saying it had been dispatched, and it was just before I come back, so I was like, it'll be here any day now. And we're now a week and a bit since I've been back, and I'm like, where's my blimmin' War Machine?
Oh no,
because I love that story, and I've seen some pictures on Twitter of the actual figure, and it looks fantastic. So yeah, I've kind of been lingering around the post box for the last few days, so I've been waiting for that, and I was hoping, because we're recording this on a Wednesday, I was hoping that the latest issue of Doctor Who Mag would be crumpled through the letterbox, because it does normally arrive a day early, and it's got Jodie on the front, a rather nice cover of Jodie, but that hasn't arrived either, so I'm just a bit disappointed, really. I'm just like, where's all my stuff? You know what that post was like.
He's probably had it.
Well, he's probably, because he didn't get a Christmas tip. I told him I was out of the country. Anyway, yeah.
On his shelf, he's got a lovely little War Machine figure, and flicking through the magazine as we speak. I
bet. Either that or it'll arrive and it'll be broken or something. But yeah, no, it's getting a little bit worried now. Should be it. And also some Big Finish stuff as well was dispatched again at the same time. And I was like, where's that gone? That hasn't arrived yet. Blake 7 and something else. So don't know. I'm putting it down to the backlog of the Christmas post. So I'm just hoping it'll be here soon. But I can't wait for that War Machine to arrive. A, because I love the story, and B, the figure looks awesome. I am sticking to my New Year's resolution though, that was inspired by your solo podcast of being restrained. There was a Harrop Sea Devil going for a very good price on eBay the other day, and nobody bid on it. It was probably because it's January and no one's got any money, so I was watching it count down, and I was thinking, that's I haven't seen it, that's sort of almost the price it was when it came out. That's not bad, but I resisted, mate. I hovered on it, and I was watching the little countdown go down. I was thinking, I really want that blimmin' Sea Devil on my shelf, because you've got it and it's amazing, isn't it, that figure?
Really good.
But no, I was good. I mean, it's January, none of us got any money. I can't be going mad and buying Sea Devils at this time of year.
Can't be pushing the boat out in January. It's
No, I
like
can't be
recovery
doing it.
month, isn't it?
I know.
Sort your finances out, and then February you can blow the lot again and
Go mad. Yeah.
Speaking of Robert Harrop, I don't know if you saw this. I don't think we mentioned it on the show, probably because we were off or whatever. But they released a really early prototype, just a grey model of the special weapons Dalek from Remembrance. Did you see it?
I did, mate. Yes, I saw your tweet or Facebook post about it, and I thought immediately it looks amazing.
It does.
Even just as a prototype sculpt, it looks fantastic. Don't know when they're thinking of releasing that. I think that's the first release for the year, isn't it? So might be quite soon. But that's an instant pre-order. Forget having no money in the bank. That is going on pre-order because it looks fantastic.
Everything we just said moments ago
goes out the window.
Ignore that.
Yeah, ignore that. This is an exception. This is like you were saying when there are certain things. Yeah, I'd quite like that, and then there are certain things you see and you instantly know that is a must buy. I don't know about you, mate, but for me that's a must buy.
Oh yeah,
it looks amazing.
Absolutely.
I haven't even seen the finished thing yet, unless of course they go and mess up the paint job on it, because it was just a grey sculpt, wasn't it, that they've released? Yeah, unless of course they go disastrously wrong with the paint job or something, but that looks like it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely, yeah, because I've been searching eBay because I decided, I think it was October, November last year, I decided that I wanted a special weapons Dalek. Do you know just the normal toy one? I think you've got a couple of versions of it.
Yeah.
And I've set up a saved search on eBay. So every time somebody posts a special weapons Dalek, as an auction on eBay, I get an email to say, there's a new one. Go and have a look. And I'll tell you what, mate, the quality is very iffy.
Is it?
Very, very iffy on eBay. Old Fleabay.
Fleabay, yeah. Greed Bay.
Yeah, because they're either 60 odd quid or they're about $3.99. So you look at the $3.99. I've done this a few times where I've compared them, where somebody's posted exactly the same thing. One of them's about £55-60. The other one's about £4. And I'm thinking, what's the difference here then? So a couple of times I've messaged the seller and said, why is this so cheap? Because I don't want to get like a, one that's like 8 centimeters big and has been built out of paper mache and and they just said, oh, it's there's a little scratch. Oh, is that all? Oh, actually no, the main weapon thing at the front is missing and from the photo though, you've put a brand new packaged one. Yeah. Sorry about that. That was just I didn't have a photo. Yeah, right, whatever. So the quality is very hit and miss unless I spend the big bucks. But you know what, mate? I'd rather just spend a bit more and get the old Robert Harrop one.
I would. I'd save you money and get the Robert Harrop. It's worth keeping an eye on these things though, because I have certain items that I've been wanting to get for ages, and I constantly, because it saves my search history on eBay, I constantly check them, and it's amazing. Just every now and again, it'll pop up for a good price, and you think, oh, is it too good to be true? And like you said, you have to be a bit careful. But because I picked up a Leela figure recently, which was quite hard to get. It was her in her sort of Face of Evil costume. I don't know if it was only released in the US or something, but it was quite hard to find apparently. And it goes for silly money. And I just kept checking it and everything again. And then I suddenly saw it for like $19.99 or something. And I was like, ooh, brand new, never been used. That seems very good. Can it be real? So I took a chance and it arrived and it was, absolutely bang on perfect. So every now and again you have a good find. But it's a bit like, I posted a picture for this week's story, The Three Doctors, and I've got the limited DVD that comes with Bessie in the front in a big box.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
because I bought that when it very first came out because I was working in a DVD shop at the time. So, it was, immediately got it. But I remember again, that goes for quite a lot of money on eBay now, but I've seen that sell for a tenner because somebody's put it on as a bidding rather than a buy now price.
Oh, okay.
And just maybe nobody's searched it that week, and so it's sold for a good price. So again, it's worth checking these things. But I'll tell you what I regret is that I remember when that first came out, I went into it was Zavvi, but it was when they had shops. Was it Zavvi or was it what did Virgin turn into? It was Zavvi, wasn't it? They had some high street stores for a while.
Did they Zavvi?
Was it Zavvi or was it something else? I forget now. But anyway,
Something
let's
like
say
that.
a big store. They were sort of like as big as H&V pretty much, and they were, you know, high street stores at the time. And I remember seeing that Three Doctors limited edition box set, but the Bessie inside had been painted red. And I remember thinking, oh, well, that's wrong. But me, you know, at the time, I didn't sort of think much of it. But I was thinking, if I'd have bought that, that was obviously going to be mega rare because, you know, they must have made a batch, or even, I don't know how it ended up being painted red, or they put the wrong car in it, or a Bessie that was, you know, but I was thinking that would have been so mega rare, I assume, because I've never, ever seen it.
Is this on the shelf, like brand new?
Yeah. I just remember walking into Zavvi, seeing the Three Doctors box set that I've got, because they, you know, when it first came out, they were, you know, they had quite a few, and I just remember seeing one on the shelf that had Bessie, but it had been painted red, and thinking, oh, that's wrong. But what I wish I'd thought is, oh, I should get that. I bet it'd be worth a fortune in years to come. But,
that would have been, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I've never forgotten that. So every time I look at my box set, I always think of that. I always think that was a bit of a clanger. Should have got that. But that was back in the days when I only bought one of something.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I was being sensible before I lost my mind.
Yeah, I can't remember. Do you know what? Zavvi, I don't remember. Oh, it was Zavvi. Yeah, you're right.
Was it
yeah.
Zavvi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Then they went on like a lot of things online only.
That's correct. Yeah. I'm on eBay right now as we speak, and there are two of those Three Doctors special edition.
Oh, right. How much are they?
One of them is £60.
Blimey.
60 plus £4 postage. £4 postage for that. And the other one is on an auction, and that is 25 quid starting price.
Starting price, yeah. See, I mean, it is a nice, for anyone that perhaps hasn't seen it, it's just the Three Doctors DVD. It comes in a nice box with Gelgard, I think it is, on the front, and then it's got a sort of die cast, a bit like a Matchbox toy, if you like, of Bessie on the front. I think it was released with a Fourth Doctor figure in it on its own at one point, but this is just Bessie on its own. So
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a nice little set if you can get it, but yeah, you just have to keep checking.
It's a bit of trivia for you.
Go on then.
The Three Doctors special edition that was released in Australia.
Yeah.
Our friend Sammy might have
Australia.
But the front of their DVD had the slightly different 40th anniversary logo.
Oh.
So, you know, the H in the middle of Who, the word Who.
Yeah.
So the word Who that's in the Doctor Who classic logo, what they did was they took off the bottom left-hand leg of the H, so it looks like a 4.
Oh, right.
With so it's like Doctor W40, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, well, that's quite cool.
So we didn't get that over here.
No.
So,
Talking of things we don't get over here, have you been watching any of your Seventh Doctor coffee table book special edition thingy?
I have. I'm 3 episodes in.
Oh,
3 stories in, should I say?
When are you going to post some more pics?
Well, I've got that in my notes.
Okay.
Just to give everybody a bit of insight into before we start recording, I always set up a text document on my computer, and I have a section for timestamps so that if Skype cuts out or Dalek comes through the window, I can mark the time so that I can edit it out.
I get you.
I also have another section that says, what have I been up to? So that when we do our catch up now, because my memory, as everyone knows, is completely shocking, I've got a note of what I've done Doctor Who-wise over the last week. And I've put here, I've gone through the first 3 stories of the 7th Doctor Collector set, and in brackets, in capitals, must post some pictures. So it's there written down so I won't forget. So probably between now and tomorrow, we're recording this on Wednesday, so between now and Thursday.
Yeah.
I'll put some little Instagram little videos up, like turning the book pages so you can see.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've gone through Time in the Rani, Paradise Towers, and Delta and the Bannerman.
First 3, yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's a beautiful set, mate.
Oh, I know. Have you read all Cartmel's new notes that he's written for it and stuff? And
yeah, only on the episodes that I've watched.
Are they good? Are they quite insightful?
They are. They are indeed. I'm not going to give... Actually, I've had a few people on Instagram and Twitter saying, I can't understand this. Why have you bought it? It's in German, XYZ.
Well, the writing's in English, isn't it?
Yeah.
The actual booklet. Yeah.
Yeah, so the book itself, all the titles and the main body text and everything is is in English. It's only the smaller it's only the translated title underneath that's in German. So it's all
Does
good.
that strike you as odd? I must admit, I thought this at the time. So it's a German release, all the discs and everything in German, but all the brand new notes that they got Cartmel to do, they put them in English.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It just does strike me as odd. That I mean, it's great for like people like me and you that want to buy it, but if I was a German person that had bought it, I might be thinking, well, this is really nice, but I don't speak English, so why is all these new notes in this lovely... I don't know, it just strikes me as odd.
It is a bit odd. And I thought about this when I sort of, I don't know, halfway between me ordering it and it being delivered, I thought about this. And maybe it's because if you were a company in Germany and you got the license from the Beeb and you thought, right, we can do this really cool set, you'd probably think a bit further ahead and think, well, who's actually going to pick this up in terms of, geographically? Because what's the size of the Doctor Who fan base in the UK versus in Germany? I'm guessing it's sizably more. So they probably thought, well, chances are shipping's not too bad, European, because the UK is still officially in Europe. So it's not too bad shipping wise. So we're probably guessing that a lot of UK peeps are going to order this. So we're going to, bulk it out with English text for the most part. That's the only thing I can think of, because like you say, if it's a pure German release, then all the text and everything would be in German. It's strange because even on the front of the box, it's got Seventh Doctor in German as the main title, but then the subtitle where it says Special Editions Collector's Set, that's in English. So they've even sort of only half translated the main title of the whole set. So yes, that's the only thing I can think of. They just want to make sure that UK peeps are willing to order it,
Yeah. See, I'm hoping that it's because they're planning a UK release to it. That's what I'm hoping, but I could be wrong.
A lot of people have said that. They said, if it's coming to the UK? And I've said, I don't know, 100%, maybe, but I've said pretty much no.
I can't see it happening, but
no, because we do get these coffee table style presentations that we're seeing more of. The Capaldi years is another one that's been released recently.
Have you seen, I saw some more pictures of that. Have you seen the new pictures of it? Like somebody posted it of when you open it up and there's like sort of about 12 pictures of Capaldi doing different poses all along one page. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
That's a US only release, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what I've said is it's probably similar to those things where, it probably won't come over here, unfortunately. So you will have to pay the import. See, with those things, with the US box sets, I'm not sure if the Blu-rays or the DVDs are region free either.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's all well and good, having the nice book and stuff, but it's a bit of an expensive, coaster holder if you can't play the discs. But the Seventh Doctor set from this German release, they are all region free, so that's all good.
Yeah, still very tempted with that, I must admit. I'll wait until I see your picks, but
when I put some pics on, mate, you'll be throwing that resolution out the door.
Yeah, it's almost out there now. You know what I'm like. Yeah.
Rightio. Anything else before I land the TARDIS?
No, mate. Let's land it.
Let's do it. Oh,
I love that noise. Just a little. That was inside my head. That's what I hear all the time.
The professionalism on our podcast is cutting edge as usual. Let's land it.
Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Our Dalek friend is just thrown a couple of things through the doorway and has scarpered immediately.
Yeah, off he goes.
Yep, not even a hello today.
No, he's looks like he's got a bit of well, not a limp because he's on wheels, but like the Daleks from Remembrance where they're getting a bit wobbly. Has he been on the sherry or what? He looks like he's going down the remembrance road of wobbly Daleks a little bit.
He's probably still got the one almighty New Year's hangover.
Yeah, I reckon he's still partying, that boy.
He's been at the old Castrol GTX oil.
Yeah.
Hold on, no, that's C-3PO, isn't it? Who has their oil baths, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't know then. Yeah, he's probably been at the old Martinis. Probably had a few chasers.
He looks like he's on something.
Yeah. Anyways, one of these cool special editions from BBC Magazine peeps has just landed. I saw this in Sainsbury's last week.
Oh yeah, did you not pick it up?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't look very good.
I picked it up, which won't surprise you. I got it, and I've kind of flicked through it, but yeah.
Here's the reason why I didn't pick it up. It just looked very, very generic, and not much of any specific value. It's like everything in there is just very generic throwaway. Here's this character and here's that character, and from this story. And it's like, yeah, we know all that. Tell me why I should buy it.
I kind of know where you're going with it, but yeah.
Yes. It's just got like a rundown of certain stories and interviews with people, but it doesn't throw anything out there that I think to myself, yeah. Anyway, it's called the Doctor Who 2018 Yearbook. And it's a celebration of the 12th Doctor's final stories from the return of Dr. Mysterio right through to Twice Upon a Time. And apparently, it's packed full of all new features and previously unseen images. I didn't see any when I was flicking through it, I'll be honest, but maybe you saw a few, I don't know. But
I must admit, I have literally, I bought it just because I saw it on the shelf and I was like, oh, 2018 yearbook, must get that. Because what is it, $5.99 year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I got home and I literally sort of flicked through it to look at the pretty pictures, and I haven't picked it up since. I wish I had, so I could give you a bit more insight. But I didn't. Nothing grabbed me about it. I must admit, nothing made me stop on a page and think, "Oh, what's that about then?" But I did literally just flick through it. So,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if any of our listeners have picked this up and they can throw a few suggestions of what's in it that'll be cool, I might go and pick it up. Yeah, was it $5.99? Yeah.
It's got. I was gonna say, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's got a great, love the cover." Which I was surprised about because nothing wrong with the cover, but it's a bit, I don't know. It's got Jodie sort of lingering behind Capaldi's back, isn't it? So maybe that's why people like it, because she's on the cover.
Right.
But it's a nice picture of Capaldi with his trusty Sonic there and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'll give it more of a read. If we've done it an injustice, I'll let you know next week. But if I don't mention it, then you'll know that it wasn't that great. But I suppose it's just a record of all the episodes from Series 10, really, isn't it? It's probably a bit strange that it's called the 2018 Yearbook because it's all about last year's series, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's strange, but yeah. Don't know. Okay, well, moving on from that then. Obviously, you won't be picking it up. There is a new Lethbridge Stewart book out, which is book 1 of Series 5 we're on now.
Blimey.
Yes, this sounds good, actually. It's called The Very Private Haunting. And it's written by
Sharon Bedwell.
Sharon Bedwell, yeah. And it's apparently the brig goes out to help the son of an old friend, and there's a mansion with sounds like a talking doll or a doll with a message.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a haunted house sort of scenario thing going on here. These are always good. I gotta say, me and you've both got quite a lot of the Lethbridge Stewart books, so it's always good to have another one in the range. There's a picture of the creepy doll on the cover as well, which looks quite cool. So this is just coming out, and if you're collecting this Lethbridge Stewart range, this is kicking off Series 5.
I can't believe we're on Series 5 already.
And they're $8.99 as well, so they're the good price.
Good price, yeah. It's a creepy cover, this one. It does have a creepy feel to it.
I was just trying to find the little blurb. It says, what connects the doll to the strange sounds that scurry around Penrose Manor, and why do the adults of the Glen Close seem so intent on keeping their children from leaving the village? It's up to Lethbridge Stewart to find out. Yeah.
Yes. I can't remember I got to in the Lethbridge Stewart range. Yeah, we'll definitely have to catch up, won't we, before we start picking up new ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's news and merch. No news, a couple of bits of merch from our metal friend. think it's review time.
Go on then. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this, actually.
What are we doing then?
This one. So, yeah, from one multi-doctor story last week, we're going to straight to another one. So this week, it's the 3 Doctors.
Ah, there you are. I seem to be stuck up here. Hmm? Oh, so you're my replacements. A dandy and a clown. Have you done anything?
Well, we've assessed the situation.
Just as I thought. Nothing.
Well, it's not easy, you know.
Not as if we knew what that stuff is.
No.
Then I'll tell you. It's a time bridge.
Is it what? I see.
Now, what's a bridge for, eh?
Well, crossing?
Right. So stop dilly-dallying and cross it.
Wait!
You faded him again.
I did not
Yes,
fade
you
it. You
certainly
saw
did.
it.
You
You faded
faded
it.
it.
I ask, but who was that?
Me.
Me!
A dandy and a clown.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 Doctors.
This could be construed as an invasion.
Dare threaten to destroy me? What do you think of this chap, Beauregard?
Frankly, I thought he was somewhat confused.
Yes, and I'm somewhat confused. Who's he?
Me.
3 of them. I didn't know when I was well off.
Hartnell, Troughton and Pertwee star in a celebration of 10 years of Doctor Who, tomorrow at 11:30 on UK Gold.
The 3 Doctors.
Yes.
Yes. So this was out in 1973.
Gosh.
Christmas time. Crimbo Spesh, if you will.
Really? Do you know, I didn't know that.
Well, just after. 30th of December.
Okay.
So a few days after. 4-parter. It was written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin and directed by Lenny Mayne. Overseen by Terence Dix. And Barry Letts. Stars the first 3 incarnations. So Pertwee, Hartnell and Troughton. Katie Manning as Jo Grant. And then we have some other people who you would have seen from Classic Who before. So the Brig is here. Benson's here. And then we have the very disgruntled and bee in his bonnet Time Lord Omega.
Very loud.
Very shouty.
Yeah, well, you would be with that big helmet on, wouldn't you? You probably can't hear very well.
Yeah. He's woken up out the wrong side of his antimatter bed that he thought of himself, literally. Plot is thus. The plot is thus. There's this weird, colourful, multicolour, weird... I don't even know how they did that effect. But there's a weird blob creature thing that that appears at Unit HQ. This is after a couple of people have been sort of zapped and transported through this black hole to the antimatter universe. And this blob thing is after the Doctor, seemingly. And the Time Lords, because Gallifrey is kind of under attack, if you like, from this black hole that's draining all the power, the Time Lords enlist the help of the Doctor, but because he can't, they feel that, you know, he's restricted to Earth still and he's not going to be much help. They break the first rule of time and allow him to engage with his former selves so that he can take on this problem. So the second Doctor turns up, and then the first Doctor kind of turns up to lend a hand. He's just a bit more of a football coach rather than a player, I would say.
Yeah.
In this one, anyway, the Doctors they all get zapped over to the antimatter universe, confront Omega. Turns out that he's just in a bit of a bad mood. Basically, he's the one that created this huge energy source via a supernova that powers the Time Lord's ability to travel in time and space and all that jazz. But due to the explosion that it caused, he got zapped into this antimatter universe. He supposedly got forgotten, and then the Time Lords went on to this glorious time of time travel and so on. But it turns out he wasn't forgotten. He's just, in a bit of a grouch. The Doctors turn up, bit of trickery, bit of a lucky break at the end, and then everything's returned to normal. Yes.
Yes.
So So what do you reckon to this one, mate? 4-parter, classic Who. You don't get more classic than this.
No, I loved it. I genuinely loved watching this the other night. I haven't watched it for ages, and I don't know why. I was putting it on, and I was just every minute of it. It whips along, doesn't it? It's like 25 minutes an episode, 4 episodes, just whips along, and it's so much fun. It's just like an absolute gem, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Loved all the stuff between Pertwee and Troughton. Did you get to watch the little making of afterwards?
Yeah.
Because that's really insightful, talking about how Bill Hartnell, ended up being in it, and how ill he was. It's so like you said, it's just he's sort of restricted to being on the screen, but I mean it works. I think in terms of the story, it works really well. So yeah, overall, mate, my overall impression of the story is it's just so much fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yes, I really like this story. I think it's a great classic watch.
It really is.
Yeah, it's got all those cool ingredients, and it's sometimes the multi-doctor stories they're typically very good, but you have like the 2 Doctors, for example. That can be a bit of an acquired taste.
We've reviewed that, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
Yeah, because I find that quite a slog, actually.
Yeah, bit of an acquired taste, that one. Whereas this one, it just flows very nicely. It's got a really cool sort of ramp up into episode 3 where we see the monster slash villain. It has all the cool kind of contraption, like all the contraptions that that the Pertwee's famous for like his tinkering and building. And then we've got the second Doctor's recorder that goes missing, and that's the key to the thing that blows up everything at the end. And the banter between them's really good. And even though Hartnell's stuff was kind of pre-recorded as more of a cameo rather than a shared starring role, his little bursts of sort of father figure. It almost feels like a father figure, sort of telling off the sons, like, get your act together, stop bickering, do this. It's obviously that, you pair of buffoons.
Yeah.
So that works quite well. But I would have loved to have seen Hartnell in it as, the other 2 on set doing his thing, which is a bit of a shame. But, it still works reasonably well. They managed to get around it just about, the story of him not being able to fully materialize. He gets trapped in this time eddy thingy. So they kind of get around it a little bit, but it still works pretty well. And then you have the unit in there with the brig, and he's pretty cool as normal. And yeah,
he gets some great lines in this, doesn't he?
The brig.
He really gets some fun lines. Yeah.
He's in a proper Fowler.
But my favourite bit is when he gets to go inside the TARDIS, finally. And he's like looking around going, so this is what you've been doing with unit funds. Well, that's wonderful.
It's great, isn't it? Because although the brig is a bit of a stern character, he's got that typical British Army from, the old days. And he's very more so like that in this one. He's very grumpy and just not taking any nonsense from anybody. I was still hoping for a bit more of a reaction from him in the TARDIS, when he looks around and you think he's going to say it.
Yeah.
Even then, he's just still on mission. There's still a job to do, and he's like, yes, well, I just love the aura that he gives off in this one. He's like, I've got no time for all this Time Lord rubbish.
Yeah.
We just need to get it sorted out, and you're not doing it. So yeah, it's just brilliant.
I love it when the second Doctor smashes up his walkie-talkie as well. He's like, I'll sort this out for you. And he's like bashing it on the console. And he's like, oh, I might have broken it. Hang on. And all that. There's some great sort of comedy moments in this that don't go over the top. Like, they're not like really laugh out loud comedy, but they're really fun lines, like really nice, charming bit of writing. You're saying about the Doctors together. I kept thinking all the way through, I'm really glad we're reviewing this after Twice Upon a Time, because it was great to see, like in Twice Upon a Time, they tried to show the difference between Hartnell's Doctor and 12's, but they did it in a way of like, this is an old hat doctor, this is a more modern doctor, just trying to do it as in the time the doctor was, in the 60s, and it didn't work really. Whereas in this, they get it right, because you see the difference between all three doctors, but it comes together to they work together. So they're all so different. You've got Pertwee, who's quite intelligent and smart in his shirt. You've got Troughton, who sort of messes around, but he's actually very clever. And you've got, Hartnell's doctor, who's very to the point and brings, takes away all the nonsense and points them in the right direction. So all three of them, you get to see all the differences between their characters coming together to make the story work. And I mean, it's, as I said, I couldn't help but compare it to, the review we did last week of how they got it totally right in this story, but, didn't get it right, I don't think, last week with, this sort of sexism writing and all that nonsense. Because and I kept thinking that as well, because I got a little bit emotional when I was watching the behind the scenes thing of this, because they talk about Bill Hartnell and he wasn't a well man, and Barry Letts says about he phoned him up and said, "Oh, we're thinking of doing this multi-doctor story. Would you be interested?" And apparently he was like, "Yeah, oh god, yeah, absolutely. Really keen to do it." And then Bill's wife phoned, a couple of weeks later and said, you must have caught him on a good day, because he really can't do it. He's really not a well man. There's no way he can do it. So they were sort of then left with, what are we going to do? And it would have been fascinating to know, like you said, it would have been fascinating to see him in it properly as originally intended as to what we get. But I think they did amazing with what they were given. And I think Bill's great in it, even though he's just on screen reading lines. It still works, because it's like when he says, cross it, and he's still got that fire in him, and he's still, he's still on the ball as the doctor, even though he, clearly probably wasn't in the best of health. And I just thought that was great, because it just shows to me William Hartnell loved playing that role. And even when he was, not in the best of health, he still wanted to do it. And I just love that. And he still does it well. And I thought, so I love that he's in it. I love that they got, managed to get that him in it, basically. But I'm curious as well. I keep thinking, what would it have been like if he'd have been in it properly? It would have been even better. But it's still great as it is, I think. It would have been awesome, I think, because it would have been all of that, like you said, that kind of fire that he still had. Still there, isn't it? Yeah. Imagine if he'd have had that sort of face to face with the other two doctors. It would have been such great chemistry between them. But there we are. It's just, but at least he's in it. At least he's contributing in some way. And in actual fact, they actually sort of it's a really nice kind of respectful way that they included him in it, because although it's a kind of a one directional thing for the most part, where Hartnell is kind of shouting these things over and he's being very kind of controlling almost. They respectfully didn't have the other two doctors, giving it back to him, giving him any lip or anything. That's because true. Yeah. There's a bit where, a really touching little bit actually, where Troughton's at the console and the Hartnell was said, just turn off the force field. And then it clicks in Troughton's mind. He's like, yes, if I do that, then we'll be transported, as well. And then I think it's either the brig or Benton sort of shouts at him, like, are you mad? That thing will come and get us. And he's like, he said, yeah, but he says something like, yeah, I've always had a great respect for his decisions, or something like that. But there's the way that he just shuts off and says it to himself, like he's staring off into the distance. So, and also Pertwee's character, he never really has any sort of digs back at him either. They between the second and third doctors, they have a lot of banter and a lot of toing and throwing. But the two of them, they never really argue back with the first doctor. They never really. No, that's true. Even when he's calling him a dandy and a clown and all that. I mean, wonderful lines. And as I said, bless him, Bill Hartnell's just sat in that thing reading off of a cue card, but he still gives it everything it needs. He still feels 100% the first doctor, doesn't he? He doesn't, and so firing off lines like that, he delivers them brilliantly. You talk about the banter between all the bickering between the second and third doctor though, which is hilarious, I think, because sometimes bickering can just get tedious. I think, but it works so well between those two. It's so funny. And that's the other thing I found really interesting on the behind the scenes, that Terrence Dicks says, well, it was it it was kind of like that off screen as well, because Troughton and Pertwee had very different methods of working.
Yes. Yeah.
And they became very good friends later on in life, but when they were filming this, it was quite strained, wasn't it? It was quite difficult because Troughton would sort of say the lines pretty much however he wanted. So he'd look at the script and he wouldn't say it word for word, whereas Pertwee would learn the script word for word and would expect the other actors to do that, so that he knew when to say his line. So you got two really different ways of working, which totally conflicted, and it was quite strained, I think, while they were filming this. So a lot of that bickering kind of like carried on off stage, so I mean, I can see that from both sides, because if Troughton would say, if it said on the script, do take a seat, Troughton would say, why don't you grab a seat or something like that, and Pertwee would be, well are you going to say it like that? Because when do I say my line? Because I don't know when you're finishing your improvisation, all that sort of that. So you can see how that would have been quite frustrating, but it's just the way they worked, and I found that fascinating.
Yeah, because there was a Pertwee story that we reviewed in November or December, and we commented on the behind the scenes that was with it, and it basically was a scene where the cameras were just rolling, and you just saw them doing the director coming on and.
It's the Dalek one, wasn't it? Day of the Dalek or Death of the Dalek?
Yeah.
One of those, yeah.
Death of the Daleks, yeah. And it was really cool to see Pertwee working in that way, because he wanted everything bang on. Like he wanted the timing correct of when he came in with his lines, as you said, and the other actors to be on point, and he wanted everything to just work and be perfect. Whereas you can see that, as Terence Dicks said, Troughton was a bit more loose, a little bit more, well, here's the script, and I'll say it, but I'll kind of put my little spin on it. My interpretation of I think what Troughton was doing was he was saying, right, here's a script that's been written for me, but I'm going to give my interpretation of how my Doctor would say it, because I know the character very well. So if you can imagine the 5 Doctors, though, with Pertwee up against Troughton and Davison, because Davison's the same.
Yeah.
If you've read his book, you'll know that he's not a classically trained actor. He's not although in later life when he started doing like West End shows and stuff like that, I think he got into it more. But back then, I think he was very just young and free, and I'll learn it later, and all that stuff. So I can imagine Pertwee having nearly a breakdown doing the 5 Doctors. But it's really fascinating, actually. I always try and watch the behind the scenes.
I love them
stuff after I've watched one of these classic stories, because it immediately turns it on its head what you think happened when they were making it. Because when I first watched this, I thought, oh yeah, they must have had a great crack making this. Pertwee and Troughton, they would have traded war stories about their time, making the show and probably going out for a few drinks, and it was all good. But no, I don't think it was that great, to be honest.
No, as I said, they became good friends later. I think over the convention circuits, and that they got very close and and all that. But I think during the making of this, it was quite strained in terms of their working relationship, for sure.
Yeah.
But it makes it's magic when they're on screen together. Like you said, if you watch the two of them, you probably wouldn't know that. You just think they're acting their socks off, which they are. But that they're great together on screen. Mm-hmm. They really do work well, and they're so different in terms of their Doctors, aren't they? The way that the way that they are, their personalities as the Doctor are so different that it makes for a brilliant. Not confrontation, but when they are bickering, you just get to see the two different ways they are. It's fantastic, really.
It is. And what I like about this is the performances were so strong, and it almost sets the precedence for all the other multi-Doctor stories that we see further down the line, right up until the Day of the Doctor, I suppose, where every time the Doctors meet their former selves, it's never plain sailing. There's always this competition, if you like, about who's done what and who's the better. They don't say that explicitly, but there's always that first period of them working together where it's just bickering and banter, and so it's great that this story has kind of really set up the the way that Doctor, because they could have done it the other way, I suppose, where, they just fell in love with each other and, oh, brilliant, it's good to see you and stuff. So it's great that you don't have that initial, because they always sort of a bit chummy at the end, like, thank you, tiddly bit, great stuff. And off they go. But I love that first sort of half to 2/3 of their time together where they're just bickering and I would do it this way and shut up and it's just fantastic. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's quite an interesting story, even before, Troughton comes into it, really. I was thinking that, like, this thing going around taking parts of the, laboratory to another planet and all this sort of stuff. I was thinking it's actually quite a good story in its own right, actually. And obviously we get introduced to Omega. He's a fantastic character. And I love the fact that although he's clearly gone insane, you do have a bit of sympathy for him because of what he did for the Time Lords and then what happened to him. So that creates another dimension to him, doesn't he? So he's not just an evil bad guy. He's actually started off as a really good guy who's, because of what's happened to him, has become very bitter, which you can understand and gone mad. So that's great. So you've already got like a really rounded character in Omega. And I love that. And I love the costume as well. I think he looks great. It's very simple, isn't it, really? Just that drapes and the mask. But it's quite almost like a samurai type mask, isn't it, this one? Very different to what we get in, is it Arc of Infinity? When does he pop back up? The Fifth Doctor story is a totally different costume, totally different design, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's is it Arc of Infinity? I think you're right. Yeah, it looks completely different. Like they've given his mask like this weird, I don't know, it's like this really alien-esque.
It's weird because I like both in their own way, if you know what I mean. I like both designs. They're both quite unusual. But I don't know, something about this one just really suits the era and everything. I really like it.
Yeah, I prefer this one.
You do? Yeah.
It looks like something out of He-Man.
Oh, a bit, yeah.
But one thing that I did quite like about, not necessarily his costume, but his voice as well. It's one of those times where the sound department actually said to the director, look, this guy's behind a mask, so you're not going to be able to hear his voice clearly. So they added the big boomy echo in post-production, I assume.
When he does that scream, it's really weird, isn't it? That's a really strange
kind of.
Yeah.
But no, it's it's great because we don't actually see him until episode 3, do we?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
So we do have a couple of episodes. Well, the first one at least, where it's just Pertwee really, and he's doing his normal stuff, if that makes sense. There's a problem that's occurred. He's at unit, and he's set about trying to figure out what's going on, because we see a couple of people zapped, don't we? Like who's the guy? What's his name?
Scientist or whatever. I like the fact we've got that face in the negative as well. That's a nice idea. Yeah, quite creepy.
What's his name? Ollis?
Well, the guy that gets zapped could be, yeah.
Yeah, with the rifle, the shotgun at the beginning. He's
him. Yes, it is. Yeah,
he gets zapped, and then the who's the scientist guy? Is it Dr. Tyler? No. Yeah, Dr. Tyler.
Yeah, it is Dr. Tyler, yeah.
Yeah, he gets zapped as well. So we have, like you say, we have this cool kind of already ongoing story before we even jump into the multi-Doctor stuff, which is cool. And I like the fact that we don't see Omega until the last half as well. Because although he's a great character, because like you said, he's gone insane, he's very bitter, but he's really shouty and really grumpy. So I think if we had that for 3 episodes, that would have been a bit much by the end. So by the end of episode 4, it would have been like, shut him up.
Yeah, true.
Get on with it already. But so I think, story-wise, I really like how this is paced and moves along.
Yeah.
Because we do have these nice intersections with the first act, if you like, setting up the story, the middle bit with the Doctors figuring out how they're going to sort this out and so on, and then the final bit with Omega coming to his doom.
And I like the fact we get a nice scene between the Doctor and Omega just sitting down and talking, and he's explaining, what happened to him. I always love it when, the Doctor and the bad guy just sit down and chat. And, rather than just being like, the Doctor gets tied up and tortured and all that, it's a bit like, always reminds me of like, when the Fourth Doctor sort of has a good old chat with Davros in Genesis of the Daleks. That nice quiet scene just explaining why they're doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? Rather than just being an evil genius or, you know, or a bad guy that wants to destroy everything. I just love those little moments. And there's a good one with Pertwee and Omega, isn't there? It's only a couple of minutes long, but just Omega explaining what happened to him and why he's so angry, and then he starts getting all shouty again. But I love little moments like that, you know, and I think Pertwee's great in those moments as well.
Because he makes the chair appear, doesn't he?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
As if to say, take a seat, because I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, go tell your story.
Yeah, why this is so, you know, everything's gone to crap, basically.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I remember when I first watched it, I thought, oh no, they've made the mistake of like the classic old, you know, the Bond villain from back some of the earlier James Bond films where James Bond gets told the plot. He gets told, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, I've got to take over the world and I'm going to do it like this. So now that James Bond knows how to stop him, when I first watched it, I was like, oh no, you know, he's giving everything to the Doctor, so the Doctor now is going to know how to stop him, but he doesn't. He's just more of the story is based on a personal, emotional thing. It's not like Omega hasn't said, you know, I want to, I want to build this big super weapon that's going to, you know, don't get me wrong, he wants to, you know, do away with the Time Lords, but he doesn't necessarily want to do away with the entire universe. He just wants to make them suffer because he thinks that they've abandoned him, whereas they don't know that he doesn't know that they don't know where he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true.
So I really like that, that he's given it all to the Doctor, but he's not, you know, there's no route that the Doctor can take off of that to stop him. He still has to try and figure out how he's going to stop Omega.
And you almost feel a bit sorry for him, don't you? Because he's sort of, at the end, he just wants company, doesn't he? He's saying he's going to, you know, the others can leave, but the Doctors have to stay because he doesn't want to be alone. All that. So you sort of almost feel a little bit of sympathy for Omega at the end.
Do you know what? It's a bit like Caves of Androzani, you know.
Shara's Jack. Yeah.
Jack, yeah. When you have kind of a multi-dimensional sort of personality to the villain, it does make you feel a little bit more for their, like you say, you do feel a bit sorry for them, because I felt that way when I first watched Caves as well. Initially it's like, oh, he's the big baddie, you know, he deserves to be blown up or stopped or whatever. But then when you learn, like, Jack's the same, he's like, he just wants to, that's why he falls for Perry, I suppose. He just wants somebody to love him. I know it sounds a bit soppy, but, you know, so I think Omega's the same, you know, he doesn't want anyone to love him, but he just wants justice because he feels like he's been wronged. And even though Pertwee, it's that really cool scene where Pertwee was like, look, when I was growing up as a Time Lord, you know, you were never forgotten. You were just the hero of the Time Lords.
Yeah.
But even that doesn't stop him and convince him otherwise. And because, like you said, he's just been twisted and insane. And he's a bit like anything that happens with sort of inter-universal or interdimensional banishings or whatever. It just turns you insane. Like, and that's a perfect example with Omega. You know, he's just been banished to this alternate antimatter universe. I don't even know for how long. It doesn't even say how long he's been there, does it?
No, that's true.
So it could have been
long enough to vanish.
Yeah, but because he's invisible pretty much, isn't he?
Did that surprise you? You know, the first time you watched this, the first time you watched it when he takes his mask off, did that surprise you that there was nothing there? Did you see that coming? Because I from what I remember, because it's a while ago, but I don't think I did. I think I remember going, what's going on? Like, I didn't expect there to be nothing there, especially because at one point his mask nearly flips up and you almost see the actor's face at one point, don't you? Do you notice that when he spins round?
Well, you do
and
see
his
it.
Mask, yeah, you do see it, don't you? Yeah, I did actually pause it. I will confess. I wanted to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was surprised, but not for the reason that I think the writers intended.
Oh, okay.
Or the producers intended, because when the Doctor and when the two Doctors start lifting his mask up, you can see the sideburns and, you know, from the actor inside the mask. So I just thought that when they saw his face, he was like this, you know, kind of twisted, mangled face. Because the look of horror is like, but you can see the actor's head inside the mask. You can see the side of his cheek and his sideburns and stuff. So I thought, he's got this, you know, disfigured, horrible Phantom of the Opera thing going on. And then when he goes to the mirror and lifts it up and it's there, I was like, oh, they're trying to make out like he's sort of thought himself, he's gone so far that his physical self is no longer here. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, but I don't think, unfortunately, the way that they wanted me to be surprised.
They intended, yeah. I'm wondering what you thought of the Gale Guards as well the first time you watched this, because I remember thinking, they're a bit unfortunate, aren't they? They're very much of the time, I think, in terms of a Doctor Who monster. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. They don't look very good. They look like a giant toffee crisp. With a big old eye moving around at the front.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been okay if the costumes were sort of bodysuit shaped, but because they just look like someone's thrown a quilt over their head and then they've sellotape some stuff on it, it kind of destroys the illusion of any threat, really, because they certainly can't run.
I was going to say, I think they might have got away with it if they'd have shot it so that we didn't see them wobbling, because when they run, they sort of do this wobble, which makes them look really comical. I don't know. I think if they'd have been shot slightly better, but it's a very difficult monster to make look scary, I think, without making it look.
I'd say what they should have done is they should have made bodysuits very similar to the mummies in Pyramids of Mars, and just stuck all of the bubble wrap and all of that stuff on that kind of shape.
Yeah,
because at least you would have got rid of all the wobble and the shake and stuff. Because I imagine if a wind blew up, it'd be like wearing a kilt.
Yeah,
that'd be straight up over your head.
The big old claw as well.
The lobster claw. Yeah,
the lobster claw. The thing is, it's as if they've really tried hard. Like it's as if they could have saved themselves a lot of time and effort, and if they'd have made the suit simpler, isn't it? Like it looks like they've really gone to town, but unfortunately, it's just ended up not looking very good. And you almost feel like saying, no, don't bother doing all that. Just like you said, simplify it and it'll be a lot better. But they're not in it as much as I thought, actually. I remember, like when they first appear on screen, I was thinking, oh dear, forgot about these guys. And I mean, they do wobble around a bit in episode 3 or whatever, but yeah, they're not in it as much as I thought.
Yeah, I thought that as well, because whenever I think of, because there are certain, especially classic Who stories, of when I hear the title, I normally go to what the monster is in it, because the Doctor's a given, So in order to sort of reboot my memory about what story it is, I'm like, oh, it's that monster or that villain. So I thought they were in it loads.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but they're not.
No, not really. No, they do make for a good toy. I've got a toy of them somewhere. they look good as a toy. I was going to say to you, actually, talking of things that seemed from memory as well, the Time Lords I thought were very different in this. Like they're not, as I remember them, they're not, like in other stories, they're quite pompous and full of themselves. And I thought in this one, they seemed like they actually wanted to help. And they seemed a little bit, maybe even a bit more human in this. Did you think that? They're not quite the sort of pompous, strutting around, we are the Lords of Time, sort of Time Lords that we get in later stories. If you compare these Time Lords to, say, like the Time Lords in Deadly Assassin, they're very different, I think, in this.
Yeah, and I think that's because they're getting their asses kicked.
It could be.
Because if you think to, what story was it? What was the Capaldi story where he goes out to the desert, to the same barn that the War Doctor went to, and then Rassilon turns up and the soldiers defect to the Doctor? What was that story?
Do you know, it just goes to show how much we've watched that series, because I can't remember. Yeah, Series 9, I know the story you mean.
Yeah, so hold on. Not that one, sorry. The Day of the Doctor.
Oh, Day of the Doctor.
Where it's basically he's saying, is Day of the Doctor? Yeah, where he's saying, we're going to freeze Gallifrey in a single moment in time because it's the middle of the Time War. So they know the Daleks are going to win. So their idea is to pull Gallifrey out of time and freeze it.
Yeah.
Which was meant, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure that was meant to be the story-driven narrative for Doctor Who beyond that point, is instead of the Doctor doing what he's doing, his mission, if you like, is to free Gallifrey. I'm sure that was what it was meant to be. Anyway,
there was somewhere in all that confusing stuff. Yeah,
because the Doctor falls no more. Gallifrey falls no more.
Yeah,
that was the reveal, and then it was like, that's his new mission is to anyway. So the Time Lords were the same then. They weren't that kind of, because although they were fairly angry that the Doctor was, got one of his crazy outlandish plans going again, they were like, yeah, do it. So again, when they're getting their ass kicked, they're more than happy for the Doctor to help out.
Yeah, that's true.
But when they're just kind of coming down on him like a ton of bricks and treating him like a child, then they have got that very pompous, who are you kind of attitude.
I suppose we haven't seen them that much up until this point, have we? I suppose because we got to see them at the end of the War Games. I don't think they've popped up or been mentioned that much, I guess, between the War Games and this, from what I can think of.
Tom's Doctor has a good old moan about them at the start of Brain of Morbius, doesn't he? He thinks that they've grounded him. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I think he's thinking back to when he was the third Doctor, and he's thinking, "Oh, they've grounded me again," and
because it's interesting because he gets the dematerialization circuit given back to him at the end of this story, which again I'd completely forgotten about. And I was like, "Oh, so this is when he finally leaves Earth and goes off to see other planets then." Which is quite nice. I couldn't help but notice how dusty the column was when he takes that. I was thinking someone should have given that a quick dust.
Yeah.
Dare I say, where was Polly? Oh no, I'm just
steady.
You listeners know I'm taking a bit out of them off saying that. But yeah, I did think that was really cool that he gets his dematerialization circuit back, and he looks genuinely pleased, doesn't he? Like, I'm actually going to get to leave Earth, and it's nice that the Time Lords give him that treat to say, okay, all is forgiven, off you go.
Yeah,
sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm very angry though.
Why?
I'm angry that once the Doctor's got his memory back of all that stuff, and he's got his dematerialization circuit and everything's cool, what's the first thing he goes and does? Goes and messes around with those bloody Drashigs.
Oh, is that the next story?
Carnival of Monsters is the next one.
Oh, blimey. Oh, okay.
So
but even though you hate the Drashigs, you've got to admit they're better than the Gelgods. You wouldn't take a Gelgod over a Drashig, surely.
I don't know. I'm just angry that with all this, of all of time and space for him to go and muck around in, he gets. Anyway, yes, it's very cool.
I will say this as well, though. Also, it looks like the TARDIS prop has been given a nice lick of paint as well, as if it's because I kept thinking back to Spearhead from Space when Pertwee falls out of it, and now it is literally about. It looks like you could blow it over.
It's like a rickety old barn, isn't it?
The light smashed, and it looked terrible in that story. And in this one, it looks solid again, and it's a bright blue, isn't it? They've obviously given it a bit of a paint job.
Yeah. But I remember in Spearhead, you talking about at the beginning where he's in the field.
Yeah.
The sound doesn't help either. So when he's like falls against the door, and
it all creaks.
It's all like creak. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I wasn't happy about either.
Oh, go on.
Talking of sets and stuff, was the bloody floor again. So when we go to Omega's chamber, you look around the floor and the steps that go up to his big chair and stuff. It's just littered everywhere with scuff marks and stains and everything. It's like when the set designers and builders and everything were making these sets, fair enough, they haven't got much money to do that. But come on. I'm
looking at a picture of it now, actually, on Wiki. It's quite funny.
Yeah. So before the cameras even start rolling, surely you'd run a mop over it, or, and sweep up and say, try not to make any marks on the set because we're going to film tomorrow. So,
it's a bit like the TARDIS console, though, isn't it? I kept thinking, so they know there's going to be a close-up of the Doctor taking that off. And it is absolutely caked in an inch of dust, isn't it, on top of it? And I was thinking somebody should have just hang on, we've got a close-up go over, just give that a wipe, somebody. It looks really dusty, but I don't know, maybe they were against the clock, as they often were, I don't know. But Omega's set, just going back to that, it's it's quite basic, and it does look like someone's just thrown a load of paint up the wall.
Yes, yeah.
But he has got a lovely built-in television.
That's nice.
It's a lovely bit of what do you call it? Integration work.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's also I mean, I know that sci-fi at this point in the game was very much, had taken Star Wars' lead, where not everything looks like it was built yesterday. We are trying to depict a lived-in universe, and there are lots of people walking about the TARDIS all the time, so you would expect the odd little scuff and so on. But there's some sets like this one where it's like, I'm pretty sure that in the universe of antimatter, all it takes is a click of fingers from Omega, and he's got a pristine, brand new bit of fluoride and so on. It just what annoys me, and it does annoy me. I'm angry about it.
You're angry?
Yeah, because I don't mind the odd scuff and stuff on things. But when you're meant to go into these big sort of chambers that are meant to be, quite posh and, quite superior, it looked like the crew had just, had a game of football on it an hour before, and I don't know. And
it was also, I suppose, because this is the 10th anniversary special, isn't it? So you might have thought they would have put a little bit more money in, maybe. I don't know. Depends how tight things were. I just don't know.
It's just a mop and a broom. That's all that's needed most of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway. So what did you think so it's kind of story overall, it's kind of well-rounded. We have the villain that's, already, like you said, an established reason and an established purpose to his, why he's doing what he's doing. We have Pertwee, he's kind of, doing his thing, as we've seen him do for a little while now, as the third Doctor. Troughton's back on form, if you'd agree.
Yes.
Hartnell's back on form, despite his, his illness that not many people probably would have known about at the time. What about some of the other characters then? What about Jo?
I thought Jo was quite good in this. She seems to be taking, because she's really settled into the role, I think, by now. Because I kept thinking back to her early adventures where she's quite sort of ditzy in the way she's written, and she seemed quite sort of serious and very much taking the role seriously in this, I thought. And she doesn't get an awful lot to do, but I just thought she was charming in it, and she is one of my favourite classic companions as well. So I just love her and Pertwee together, and she does get some nice lines between the two of them when she's asking who's that and all this sort of stuff. So I like her in it.
I don't think she did too bad.
No,
I thought she was there just to prop up the Dr. Tyler most of the time.
Oh yeah,
because they kind of get grouped when they go to Omega's hood. They get sort of prisoned off together, don't they? And other than that, she doesn't really. I mean, she does give the doctors a bit of a pep talk, doesn't she? Because they're like, oh, this is all, we're doomed. Not so many words, but, she's like, if Omega, one Time Lord can think up all this, surely you two can think up a simple door, and then we have that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, she gets to figure that out.
Yeah, it's like that funny effect where the camera zips like frame by frame between the two doctors' faces. When they do that interlink.
Oh, that's
kind of
mad,
thing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's very trippy. So she gives them a little bit of a pep talk, and she's doing her thing. But I suppose there's not much room in the story to have her doing much more than what she did, I suppose. But she was all right.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna say for what she's given, I think she's good. Yeah.
What about old Sergeant Benton then?
Benton. Well, Benton's Benton, isn't he? I mean, what can you say? He does. His reaction to being this other task for the first time is quite interesting, isn't it? He's just like gawps for what feels like forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he really relishes that. They're like, right, John, you're going to go in, you're going to see the TARDIS, you're going to look amazed, go. And he really savours his time of looking around. And he's really like, oh, this is amazing. And he's okay in it. Yeah.
He's all right.
I was going to say is that John Levine is John Levine.
Yeah.
He's just his acting style, the way he acts as Benton is what it is. And
he's not the greatest of actors, is he? Let's be honest, old John Levine. But I think he does what's needed for Benton, I suppose.
He's very likable.
Yeah, he is very likable. That's true. And he's nowhere near as bad as the other soldier that we see out in the in the grounds of Unit taking on the... he was a very terrible actor. I don't know who that guy was, but Corporal Palmer, I think his name was.
Oh, what, the one that sees the Gal Guard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So at least he's better than him.
No, he's all right. His old Sergeant Benton. It's nice to have him in there. Again, he doesn't get a lot to do really, but
would have been cool to have Fraser Hines back as Jamie because I think a lot of the stuff that was written for Fraser Hines went to Benton.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the stuff that the interactions between him and the Doctor and him and the Brig, I think was meant to be between Jamie.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah. I can see that. They tried really hard to get him as well, didn't they? They were like, okay, if we can't get you for the story, can we get you just for a cameo at the end when the second Doctor vanishes again? Can we just get you to come through and actually say, come on, Doctor? Which I can totally see.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, but he was too busy filming Emmerdale, I think.
Emmerdale bloody farm.
And they couldn't get him. Yeah, which is a real shame because that would have been a lovely little touch if he'd have just appeared to have taken the second Doctor back to his TARDIS or wherever. That would have been nice, but no, it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
It wasn't. Yeah. And what about the other two guys? Well, I think we mentioned them very briefly, but we had Ollis, who's the groundsman.
Yeah.
We get zapped, and then we had Dr. Tyler. So Dr. Tyler was a bit of a loose cannon at times. There was that bit where he's being held captive and the Doctor's like, don't you dare run off. It'd be dangerous.
He's one of those actors that, again, I think we've said this before, it's very much like, very much sort of theatre-like and very much of that era. But quite likeable because of that. So it's not a very convincing performance, but it's a nice performance. So does that make sense? You know what I mean? He's like, you're looking at him thinking, you can see him on the stage sort of thing, kind of going through the lines, but he's perfectly likable though. He's perfectly okay.
I thought it was brilliant. They just had him run around the block, and because the Doctor's like, "Don't run off. It'd be a mistake." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll stay put." And then before he's even finished a sentence, he's legged it off.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, here we go." And then he just runs around a few corridors, and he's back, and he's like, "Oh, that was worth it, wasn't it?"
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's great.
They
were okay, those two.
Yeah, supporting cast are fine. As I said, they don't get much to do, but they're okay with what they're given.
They are. What did you think to the music in this one?
Oh, who did it? Because it's Pertwee's music can be it is Dudley Simpson. I did wonder because it's quite electronic, and I always which always throws me off because I always think of Dudley's music as being, more sort of wind instruments and stuff, which I suppose he goes on to be later. But I didn't think it was too bad because, some of Pertwee's music can be a bit ear-splitting.
You can.
And this borderlines it at times, especially in episode 1 when Bess is going for a little jaunt. It's
I was going to say,
it's quite jovial.
Did you like that Bessie had its own theme? Because every time perhaps we jumped in Bessie, we had that same thing.
Yes, I did like Bess's theme. Yeah, no, I quite like the music. As I said, it borderlined almost going down that electronic, ear-splitting Pertwee music at times, but I thought it was okay. It didn't take me out of the story like sometimes Pertwee's music can.
Yeah, like Frontier in Space or...
Well, Sea Devils can be a bit...
Or the Sea Devils. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great story, but some of the music in it can be a bit much.
Green Death's pretty bad as well. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I do love Dudley Simpson's music. I really do like old Dougie.
It's very good. Anything else you want to mention before we go on to scores?
Just two little bits. One that I thought Nicholas Courtney was brilliantly written. I just love all the stuff he comes out with in this. I think he's really funny and adds to the sort of humorous side of the story. So I love that. And also, I just wanted to quickly ask you what you thought of the Mind Palace fight, which I thought was really good, but probably just because I just thought it was really simple. I love the fact it's done on film and it's just all done with coloured lighting. Like they're just in a black room. I just thought it was simple, but I really liked it. I thought it was quite effective. I like the creature that he's fighting with, like Omega's mind creature. I thought was quite interesting and probably quite scary back in the day. I think I would have found him quite scary if I was a kid watching this back in the 70s. But yeah, I just wonder what you thought of the mind fight. Pertwee's getting thrown around like a rag doll.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a bit creepy, like the way that Omega had, when you see him. I suppose that was what he wanted to make himself look like as like a threatening kind of sort of being, I suppose, towards the Doctor. But I thought the sequence itself was really cool. It was like this slow motion.
Yeah.
You did see the Doctor throw a couple of throws in, didn't you? And he goes in for a few chops, but Omega's...
it was quite trippy, wasn't it?
It was a little bit. There was a few things in this that made me think, oh, wow, this was when a few people at the BBC were on something that was a bit stronger than alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not the first time we've seen... I'm sure Pertwee has another fight in a black draped... I can't think what it's with, because I kept thinking, I'm sure I've seen this sequence in another episode, but obviously not this sequence. But I'm sure he's done that in other stories where we have these sort of fights that are slowed down, all in blackness, or it might even be Baker. I can't remember now, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, just a nice, I don't know, just something about it I thought was pretty good.
Okay, cool.
Quite trippy.
Okay.
Also I like the fact you couldn't tell. That's what I was going to say. Very often when Pertwee's in a fight sequence, you can tell when it's not him.
Oh, yeah.
So who's the guy that normally stunts for Pertwee? I've completely forgotten his name. Is it Stuart Fell or something like that? But you can normally tell what you sort of think, well, that's so-and-so in Pertwee's, in a wig. Oh, now we're back to Pertwee. And I just thought they mixed it really well in that sequence. You couldn't tell when it was Pertwee and the stunt double, which, is quite unusual. You normally can.
Terry Walsh.
Terry Walsh, yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was only one scene where Omega gives him a proper fling across the floor, and
you can normally tell by the hair, can't you? It's normally a lot lighter. It's like a real crisp wig.
That's right. Yeah.
But it was quite a good wig in this one.
Yeah, it was good actually, because there was one fight scene. What's that scene of Pertwee's story when he's in like a big square that's made of like roped walls?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I was going to say, was that the fight sequence you're thinking of?
Yes, and you can clearly tell, can't you, when it switches? I think
that's very obvious that it's Terry Walsh in that one.
What is that story?
It's not Carnival, is it?
I can't remember.
It's not, no.
No, I know the exact scene you're on about. Just can't think of the story. Yeah, there's lots of ropes and there's a big old fight going on.
Yeah, that's got like a black exterior to it. It's just the roped area. Yeah, but that's quite cool.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yes. Right, she's go first.
Right. Okay. Really, really like this. Thought it was a good story. Joy to watch actually. So, going with an 8.5 out of 10.
An 8.5, you say?
Yes.
I'm going for an 8.
Oh, an 8. Oh, I thought you were going to say snap. 8, and they do get the lines in time in this one. When they have to say the same lines, like
me.
Snap. Me,
yes.
They get it in time, which they didn't do in the two Doctors.
Is that your 0.5 there? Is it for the syncopated?
Yes.
Line? Okay.
No, I really enjoyed this one. I nearly went to a 9. I'm only really knocking points off for the look of the Gale Guards, and I don't know. Can't really think of much else wrong with it. Really, I think it's a great story. So 8.5.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good story. Really good watch. I think the reason why I initially put an 8 down on my notes is because. I think an 8's a good score.
Yeah, it is a good score, yeah.
Why didn't I think I didn't mark it any higher than that, purely because, I think I would have gone up to an 8.5 if the monsters were a little, the guards were a little bit more threatening and a bit more, and also if Hartnell had been in it more, that definitely would have pushed the score up. So, yeah, an 8 from me.
But it's like you said, it's a good score. Yeah. It's a really good story.
It is.
Really good fun.
Really good. So what did our beautiful listeners think? I'm going to read out an email that we got from George Puddy. I'm going to read this out first because he emailed me last week and I forgot to read his one out.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I get this one first. He says, it's an odd story. And while I love the interactions between the third and second Doctors, it really wasn't the 3 Doctors. Although that couldn't be helped. The effects weren't that great, even for Classic Who. Yet Omega is a great villain. And he gives it 8 out of 10.
Awesome. Cheers, George.
Over on Twitter, Silent Nerd C137 says, this was my first multi-Doctor story, and I love it. It's such a shame that Hartnell was ill, as it could have been so much better with all 3 Doctors, but Troughton and Pertwee play well off each other. Omega is a great villain. Love his costume. We need more Omega. Gives it a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
Daniel Fox 909 says, my favourite Pertwee story. Omega is a brilliant villain. The Girl Guards are the most adorable lumps of jelly. And Troughton and Pertwee's dynamic is awesome. 9.5. Running Hoovian says, enjoy this story. The plot is good and the set is impressive, even if the monsters look like oversized pomegranates. Omega is a fab baddie, and it's great to see 3 and 2 play off each other with one overseeing. 9 out of 10.
Yes.
Gallifreyan Who says, smashing story. Omega was a great villain, and the use of antimatter provided some excellent elements to the story. Love the interactions between all the Doctors, and putting Hartnell in a glass pyramid was a great way to not get him running around. 8.8.
8.8, okay.
Yes. Mr. he's always very specific.
Very. I like that.
Yes. Mr. Dalek Emperor says, as the first multi-Doctor story, it's very well written, and Troughton and Pertwee are comedy gold in their double act, and they have going in the episode, but it's a shame due to Hartnell's ill health that he wasn't a part of that. Also, Omega's name was supposed to be Om, which spells who upside down.
Oh, okay.
And coincidentally, Om is a unit of measurement represented by the uppercase version of the Greek letter Omega.
Clever stuff.
Overall, the story set a strong template for other multi-Doctor stories to come, with the other Doctors having great double acts, as in the 2 Doctors, Time Crash and Day of the Doctors. He doesn't give it a score, though.
Oh.
No. I think he likes the story.
Sounds like it.
Yes. Anything else on Twitter? Yes. Rob Kelly tweets, says, my favourite story of all time. Mostly due to nostalgia. Absolutely love everything about it. Watched it hundreds of times and loved the interior of the TARDIS.
Yes, beautiful.
Liam Michael 97 says, I always love the 3 Doctors, as it is such a good storyline encapsulating the 70s Doctor Who, while also treating us to 3 Doctors in the story. Having Unit heavily involved as usual made the story even better. I love it.
Excellent.
And I think that was it. Hold on. No. Dexter Who says, very good story. I had the good fortune to see it in 1973 when it was first transmitted.
Oh, cool.
And its repeat in 1981. Best wishes from Dex.
Cheers, Dex.
Thank you very much. Over on Facebook, Sammy Satine. G'day, Sammy says.
G'day, Sammy.
I love this story as everything. Always a joy to see Hartnell. Shame about him being so poorly, but great he was included. The Doctors certainly work well together. Troughton does a great job of his portrayal of the second Doctor, as always. Of course, Ruffles being the current Doctor means we also get Unit, which is great. Omega is an interesting character, a solid 9.
Solid 9. Cheers, Sammy.
Jason Thayer, it's a shame Hartnell's health was so poor. Was too poor to really contribute to the plot. At least he gave us the immortal line. Lots of great humour in there too. Omega is a great villain. The walking jello moulds were a bad idea, though. Another 9. Martin Arnold says, Omega kidnaps Bessie. The start of a crazy and awesome adventure with my favourite Doctor Who villain ever. I love the costume, so iconic. The Arc of Infinity design is still good. A really interesting idea for a villain. Even the weird blobs and the ridiculous music they always manage to play when the Doctors try running Bessie doesn't hamper a true classic. 8 laws out of time of 10 for me.
Love it.
Dean Jones, a lot of fun. Character interactions were fantastic. Great cast, very funny, and an excellent villain in the form of Omega. Pertwee and Troughton bounce off each other perfectly. Dudley Simpson's music fitted the story like a glove. The production was very good for a 70s budget and packed with action, humour, references and engaging plot. A very solid story in its own right, immensely entertaining, 8 out of 10.
Awesome.
Miles Mackenzie, an enjoyable watch, suiting anniversary episode, an amazing chemistry with all the characters, a real... I think he's meant to say a real shame that Hartnell couldn't do much due to his health. Omega was a great villain and is one I want to see return to new Doctor Who. The Girl Guards were a quirky villain, but very enjoyable to watch. Another 9.
9, yeah, good.
Lewis Palmer, very enjoyable and entertaining. Omega is a fantastic villain, proper menacing. I really enjoy seeing the 3 Doctors interact with one another, even if Hartnell's time on screen is short. Good monsters, 7.5.
Oh, thought it'd go higher.
Joseph Howarth says, we've done a multi-Doctor story last Christmas, and now we are covering a story with 3 hard hitters. Pertwee, Troughton, and a bit of Hartnell. It can only be the three Doctors. It's been a while since I've seen this, and it's better than I remembered. Shame about Hartnell not joining it much with the proceedings, but it couldn't be helped with his poor health. Production values on a bit of a cheap side, while Omega is screaming more than a fan at an Ozzy Osbourne concert, as well as the monsters looking rather silly. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Everything is well done. Everyone in the cast deliver some brilliant performances, and it's a thrilling story to watch. Another 9.
9.
And lastly, Charlie Turner says, my second favourite multi-Doctor story behind the 5 Doctors.
Oh.
Omega's great. That's all I can say. 9 out of 10.
Another 9.
9s.
Wowzers.
9 is the average score.
Yeah, that's good.
Crazy. Do you have anything on the Geek Soundbag?
Yeah, I had a couple on Geeks. Zach Jenkins says, absolutely fantastic. Omega still scares him a little, he says.
Ooh.
Fair enough. Aaron Ball says, brilliant story. Troughton and Pertwee have amazing chemistry, and it introduces Omega. Brilliant celebration story, and even Hartnell, for all that he had, was brilliant. Matt Searson says, shame they couldn't get all 3 of them together on film as they got them together for promotional photos. Very true, actually. That amazes me that they got them all together. But yeah, Andrew Moore says, I first saw a story during the 5 Faces of Doctor Who and has always loved it. Says, a shame William Hartnell could not have appeared in the whole story. Yeah, we agree. And Mickey Wildman finally says, remembers asking for it on DVD Christmas years ago, and when he got it, he was amazed by all of it. So yeah, he really enjoys it. So a lot of positivity, no negativity there, which is good, because it is a great story.
Brilliant story.
Yeah, I've just been reminded as well that they did, because someone was saying they'd like to see Omega come back, and I was thinking, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I was thinking, actually, I remember Big Finish did that audio ages ago, just called Omega. Which I remember really liking, but I probably haven't listened to it for about 15 years.
Was that a Davison story?
It's a Davison one. Yeah, I might have to dig that out. Yeah, I might have to dig that story out. Because I completely forgotten about it until now.
Yeah, that's very true. I might have to pick that up, because I think...
It's a $2.99 one.
I was going to say, it's only a cheap... and it's download only. But yeah, it's only £3 at the moment, so I might...
I remember liking that. They did like Davros, Omega, and forget what the other one was, all in concession. Yes.
Yes. Who played Omega in that one? Ian Collier.
Yeah, I must admit, I've just looked to see if it was Stephen Thorne, who obviously played Omega in the 3 Doctors, and sadly it wasn't. No. So, yeah, Ian Collier.
Apparently a good story, though. You're not the only one who said that about Omega. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for sending in your reviews and so on. Very much appreciated. Next week, it's going to be newer Doctor Who.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
What have we got next week?
10th Doctor next week, so school reunion. 10th Doctor and Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane. Right, this is going to be an interesting one.
And K9. Oh, yeah.
Because fans of the podcast will know that it was either last year... or even 2016, I can't remember. Or even 2015, I can't remember. Yeah, it was 2015.
Blimey, really?
You and I did a commentary of School Reunion.
3 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
No, well, 2 years ago. No way, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I can remember that, recording that as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's cool. So School Reunion, where we get to see the Doctor come face to face with the alien.
Krillitine.
The bat.
Is that what they're called? Krillitine?
Krillitines, yeah. Anyway, get your DVDs out or your Blu-rays, whatever your choice of medium for newer Doctor Who is. Because we'll be asking for your thoughts on a bit of Tennant action for next week.
Yes.
And until then, I think we're going to do for 171.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us this week for 171 and chatting all things Doctor Who. Thank you so much again for sending in your thoughts and reviews. Love it when you guys do that. Not only does it give us an insight into what fandom thinks of certain stories, but also make sure that we're not going mad.
Oh, I think we are going mad.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. So yeah, School Reunion next week. Get that watched. And just keep an eye on social media on Monday, asking you for your thoughts and stuff on that. Head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, where you can check out all of the previous podcasts and also check out the articles that have been coming out now that Christmas and New Year is done. Our cool writing team, Maria, Dan and Jordan, putting out some great articles. There's a really cool one from Maria, all about regeneration, which is very cool. And Dan has just put out a review of the first Doctor Adventures on Big Finish.
Yes, awesome stuff.
Go check those out. Also look for us on all of the podcast stuff. Just do a search on iTunes or click on the badge on the website. It'll take you to iTunes. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could spare a minute for a review and a rating, that would be lovely, because that really helps us. Plus, you can search for us on all the other podcast networks. We're on all of that stuff. And if you want to grab the RSS feed, all of that stuff, it's all on the website. Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. Yay!
Yay! New video out today.
Awesome.
Yeah. Looking at those new Titans.
Oh, you got all of them delivered, didn't you?
I got the whole shebang.
Just went in. All of them. No messing about.
No messing around this time.
Yeah, so check out Adam's channel on YouTube. Plus, you're on everything else, aren't you?
Everywhere.
Excellent stuff. So, until next time for episode 172. Oh, my voice went then. For 172 next week. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...
No.